Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Agent Secrets live webinar with myself, Christy, from Success Website. We also have a very special guest today, Steve Raitt from Success Website, ConsulNet, been developing cutting-edge internet software, marketing strategies for over 30 years. Also, a bit of a mentor of mine. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us today.
Thanks, Christy. Always a pleasure.
And thanks to all of you for coming on. I see we've got a great group who have been so kind to take the time to spend with us today. So I really, really appreciate that. I know that you're all super busy, but I promise you're going to get a lot of good stuff out of this, okay? So today we are going to be talking about how to make your business, your real estate business, irresistibly referable. We're going to go through some proven strategies to multiply your referrals, your reviews, and really just overall how to make your business more referable. Now, because Steve has done a lot of work, not only in the real estate industry, but outside, he's going to bring a lot of really golden nuggets to this, because one of the things that I really value about you, Steve, is your ability to turn some of these complex ideas into practical, results-driven strategies that professionals can apply immediately. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, well, be practical and make it easy, and hopefully we can make it worth everyone's time.
Now, Steve, we often hear the phrase, your network is your net worth. But many professionals struggle to maintain those meaningful connections. Why do you believe that's a problem? What do you believe is the root of this disconnect?
Well, I think if you go back, like when we were first starting developing Success Website and all the realtors were starting to get online, it always sort of, like everybody you talked to at that point, their business was primarily built around their network. And it was kind of the way everyone did business. Everyone was farming, and everybody was thinking about ways to how do they build their network? How are they getting leads? They were taking the time to personally follow up with people. And I think what's happened with the internet's made communicating with people so much easier that we tend to get sort of overflowing with our inboxes are full. The idea of being able to run ads on Google and Facebook quickly and easily, and it's not necessarily as inexpensive as it once was, but it, in a lot of ways, there sort of has become this, it's easier to do that than sort of doing all the outreach that people think about when they're talking about referrals and networking. And the reality of it is, I think that there are ways to kind of automate that stuff as well, to make referral marketing just as easy as digital marketing, and give you a way to sort of, like if people are getting one referral a month, someone that's getting 60% of their business through referrals, is that one a month? Is it two a month? But why can't we make that scalable like we hopefully could do with online marketing? And if we're doing online marketing right, we're running Google ads or Facebook ads, if we have good campaigns, what do? We can turn the budget up. And right away, if we've got a good campaign, we should expect to have a commensurate increase in the number of leads we get. Hopefully we're able to follow up with them at the same level. Often that's a problem, but the tools are there to sort of do the same stuff with our referral marketing. And it can be a lot less expensive than Google and Facebook, and it's obviously a lot more personal, which means we're going to end up with a lot more of those kind of come list my home kind of leads, as opposed to the ones you have to call 40 times. They never answer the phone, and they're just hard to get a hold of. They may still be decent leads, but if you can't talk to them, what good are they? Right?
That's true.
I think thinking about referrals in a little bit different way, I think has a real upside for just about everybody, certainly all the realtors we work with, but also sort of all the other service businesses that revolve around real estate, mortgage and title and lawyers and financial advisors and dentists and car dealers and painters and contractors, on and on. These are all people you can systematically put in place to work with you to generate a real network of referrals. And again, we can automate most of that to make it just as easy as doing digital marketing.
Yeah, that's what's really interesting is technology has given us so much in terms of the ability to communicate and get our messages out there. But do you feel like technology has inadvertently made authentic relationship building more difficult despite making connections easier?
I think in a lot of ways it is, because the tendency with all these social networks is you build very shallow networks. Right? People are out, well, you can certainly hear about my kids talking about how many people they have in their Instagram or following them on Instagram or Snap or wherever they are. And it's like I said to my son, when was the last time you actually talked to any of these people? I said, oh, I don't talk to them. Right? It's like, so they've got these very sort of not even casual relationships. They're sort of glancing relationships is maybe a term to use, but and again, some of those certainly would be if you went out and asked for business or you're looking for advice. Sure, some of those people would be good, but it's really hard to distinguish between the 1 to 5% of those that are really that you would call people that you could rely on or would respond if you had something to offer them, or as opposed to just, yeah, they're there and they're in your feed and you just scroll by. To build the numbers up, and that's kind of what we want to rely on, but we also want to do we want to make that network a little bit deeper so that there's value exchange that goes beyond, oh, I get to see your dumb party photos on the weekend, as opposed to something else that, right? We want this to be meaningful connections. And how do we separate the meaningful ones, the ones that might be partners or business allies? How do we separate them from all the noise that goes on in social media?
Well, I think that's one of the big challenges with social media and with things like LinkedIn. You end up with a lot of superficial connections. And at the end of the day, there's really not much you can do with those. You could use that as an audience and be broadcasting messages out to those people. But it's very difficult to connect with like a superficial contact, right? It's not something that's particularly easy to do, and it's not something that is particularly enjoyable to do either, right? So why do you think most businesses, treat networking as a more informal activity rather than a structured business process?
Well, we're all busy, I think, is probably where it starts. Everyone would like to think, yeah, I have time to contact all these key allies and build those relationships, and I'm going to see them or spend time with them. I know at one point it kind of was a thing. People would your mortgage broker would show up every week with a box of donuts. And again, that's the donuts part aside, the sort of showing up and taking the time to be social, that just doesn't seem to exist anymore. Was it really that good doing that? I don't think it is, but if you could establish a meaningful connection with not just one, but if you had 5 or 10 or 50, would that make a big difference? And I think a lot of what we're going to be talking about is how do you move from 1 to 5 to 50? And again, if you're getting 10%, 20%, one a month, whatever number of sort of good referral business you're getting now, can we take that up 2 times, 5 times, 50 times? And what does that mean to the rest of our business? And it probably means that there's no need to be doing any of the digital marketing you're doing. There's no need to be chasing ads or chasing leads that aren't that great or are hard to talk to. We want to have people that are, if we can build a network that generates leads that are wanting to speak to you or understand the value you bring before you even talk to them, you're going to be far more successful. And I think everything you do is going to be a lot more enjoyable, because it beats people down trying to contact leads that really could care less.
Yeah, I'm sure many on the call would agree with that. And I think that when you look at the way that most organizations approach relationship building today, what strikes you as being the most significant missed opportunity? Is there something that people should be focusing more on?
Well, I think that one of the things that's gotten, like, everybody, I'm sure everybody on this call has a CRM of some description, right? If you're generating any leads or any business, you've got this database of people. And I think it's really easy to lose the key relationships in there with all the clutter of, obviously there'll be some clients in there, hopefully. But there's also going to be a whole lot of tire kickers or some lead or somebody that called or somebody that clicked a form or that we've never talked to. So what you'll often see is tens of thousands of leads in someone's CRM. And it's hard to find the 200 that are clients, or possibly the 10 or 15 or 20 that could be real allies in your business. And we get sort of tied up in the idea of doing automated follow-up with all these people, and can we do mail blasts or text blasts, or how can we use technology to contact all of them? And the reality is, if you could separate out the 5 or 10 or 20 and then work with them to leverage their 5 or 10 or 20, you can very quickly build this very tight referral network that's a group that's worthwhile to develop and make sure you're following up properly and tracking where that is, so that you're not getting lost in all the other stuff that goes on. Like I've got 4 different email accounts. It's probably 6 or 8, but I've got 4 that I use all the time. One for all different things. So the hockey team I coach and all the network for that, and the obviously with work, and I've got a personal account and all these things. And I'm as organized as anybody dealing with that stuff, but I'm getting 1,000+ messages in each of those accounts every week. And that's after I filtered out a lot of the junk. And if you're plugged in with a CRM that's generating lead reminders and things into your email, like it's just hard to deal with that. And obviously that's why we've got systems in place, and maybe we've got a team or a partner that's helping manage that, and they've got specific tasks, and someone's dealing with an inbox and all those things. But again, if we can, like, one of my email accounts is just for the key people I've identified, and it's got 15 or 20 people in there, and a lot of the time it's the only one I'll check. It's the first one, and because I want to make sure that I'm dealing with those people first and addressing those. So the priority is on the people like that. Obviously we want to make sure we're getting to our calls and our follow-ups and those things, and maybe that's your next priority. But again, you've got to sort of do some separating to make it manageable.
Yeah, prioritizing those key contacts. And once you identify them, how would you approach building that network, right? If let's say somebody's looking at their CRM and they are able to pick out the key 10, 20 people that they consider to be an important part of their network, what steps should they be taking?
Well, I think the first step is, like, let's identify 3, right? Let's find your, maybe it's your mortgage broker, maybe it's a contractor you deal with, maybe it's someone that does staging or moving, whatever those, find 2 or 3. And the approach is pretty simple. And there's 2 sides of it. The first step is you want to make sure that it's easy for them to refer you. Okay, so we just be referable, I think, is sort of the key phrase there. So we want to make sure that we can easily convey our value. So do you have a good USP? Do you have what is your offer? If you've only can send one message to somebody, or you can only run one little blurb or one little ad, what's your offer, right? Are you doing a home evaluation for free? Are you doing a discount on commission, or is there a special deal for Bob's friends, or whatever that is? You have to find a way to be clear with that messaging, and it's got to be simple enough for whoever is referring you to easily convey that. So we don't want it to be complicated. It's got to be something that's simple. Okay, so and then we also want to make it easy for people that refer to contact you. Okay, so that means a good website, a good contact page, maybe a specific page just for referrals, all of those types of things. Again, you want to make yourself easy to reach, easy to refer. And then certainly on your social channels, we want to make sure that everything there, again, maybe you're conveying that same offer, that same message, the same USP. But again, we typically want to drive them all to one spot where we can start collecting those referrals. So again, maybe it's the same contact page or the same thanks for your referral page or whatever that is. So you're linking to that on Facebook, or you're linking to that on Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever you are. So be referable on the one side. As far as now, the trick is, okay, how do we approach those people? And it really is much simpler than people think. It's a simple message. Just as be referable is simple, it's a let's team up approach, right? I've got a lot of people that could use your services. I'm sure you've got a lot of people that could use mine. And how can we team up to make that easier for people, or easier to share those leads, right? And it doesn't, a lot of people, when they start thinking about referrals back and forth and those types of things, they're always thinking about, well, can I get paid for that? And I think the reality is that it will always work better if it's a trade for trade, right? Where we're bartering. I'm going to keep you in mind. I'm going to make sure my people know that I've got a good realtor, or I've got a good mortgage broker. And I think you would benefit by doing the same thing. Now, obviously, if you've got a relationship where there's a lot of one-sided stuff and there is a way to compensate for referrals, great. That's fantastic. But that isn't usually going to be the norm. And certainly with some of the RESPA rules and things, it can get complicated, and you're better off kind of avoiding that. Now, it always is good. The reason we start with be referable is the same way, the same things that you work on to be referable. Now you've got a base to say, look, this is what I've done. I'd love to team up with you. This is what I've done to make sure I'm referable. I could help you do some of those things as well, so you'd be referable. And now we both have an easy way to exchange referrals.
Right.
make it super easy for the first person. And that's the reason we want to start with 2 or 3, right? Find 2 or 3 where you can refine your approach, right? Make it easy. There's nothing that says, like, it could be as simple as here's a little guide I use, and we're working on a guide we can share with everybody about how to be referable, how to share referrals, and how that process can work. And again, if we can get everybody on the same page, once you've done 1 or 2, now it becomes easy to find 3, 4, 5, and 6. And in a lot of cases, what you may find is that you may not have very good referral partners. If you look at your mortgage broker and you decide, well, that's someone I could send leads to, but they're a lousy mortgage broker. They don't do any marketing. They don't have very many leads to share. Well, you might want to rethink, okay, I could team up with someone better. Like you want to have someone that's got a real website, that's got some real lead generation, that spends some money on advertising, that has a real business and could actually make referrals to you on a more consistent basis, right? If your partners aren't good business people, find someone that is. And I think once you start reaching out to the people that are good at that stuff, again, they're going to understand this approach as well, and they're going to see the benefit in it. And those are the type of people you want to team up with.
Right. So start with your own business, making sure you're as referable as you can be, manage your online reputation, get all of your USPs in order, build that strong presence, and that will put you in a much better position when you go to approach these businesses. And I love what you said about, there may be businesses that you deal with just that aren't the greatest fit, and that you wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable referring your clients to. And you certainly don't want to be that, right? You want to be the one that people would be more than happy to refer business to. So when you're approaching these power partners, as we like to refer to them, the let's team up concept, what are some of the most effective ways to do that? You mentioned starting with 2 to 3, right? Just as a start. How would you suggest people approach these businesses to team up?
Well, I think much like anything else, I think if that obviously I'd pick up the phone is probably the easiest place to start. And it may be as simple as, again, once you've kind of got the process in place for yourself, it may be as simple as we've been working on making our business more referable, and I think we could team up, and we can talk about how we can both be more referable and we can both generate more referral type business, how we can share those leads, how we can make sure we're delivering good value to each other's customers or network. And I think it's not a hard conversation to have. Mm-hmm. And again, particularly if, again, we'll be rolling out some resources for people to help themselves be more referable. But again, those are great things to share. And now if you're sharing something that's, again, we're not sending them a 500-page book. We want to send them a checklist on things they can do or things they can look at to make themselves referable and make that easy. And now once you've got 2 people, well, maybe it's easy that each of you can go out and get 2 more. And now we'll share those 2 more as well. And now we're at 6.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Right. And the idea is that if we then sort of build them into a network, then those 2 more can get 2 more. And we quickly go from 6 to 12. And it doesn't take very long until we've got a lot of different categories covered. And you may decide that not only are we going to work together on teaming up as well, but maybe we're going to team up and identify specific partners or specific businesses we like in our markets that we could both team up with. So now it becomes, okay, we're going to let's say it's a financial advisor. now we can go to the financial advisor and say, well, we've got a realtor and a mortgage broker, and we're both done this to make ourselves referable. We'd like you to join along with us. And now right away, he's going from 1 to 3. And it's a much better proposition to go when you've got a group. He's only got to bring his own resources into play, and he could benefit from 2 other people, or 6 other people, or 12 other people. Right?
But they're also coming in with a framework.
Right.
You're providing a
with a
framework.
framework, and the network is your asset,
right,
as well. And I think sharing that network with people as you expand it, it really becomes a great place to start. And again, with a little bit of structure in how you're doing that, I think it's not something that's very difficult.
So once you start building the network, it's important to promote it, share it.
Yeah, well, I think, yes. And one of the things you can get to, once you have a network of people and you've got someone you can team up with, now it becomes, okay, well, how are we going to cross promote ourselves? Right? Is there ways to add, maybe I can add my USP as a footer in some of your emails. I'll do the same for you. Maybe we can, are there opportunities in our marketplace where we can share the cost of advertising campaigns? Right? We've got a complete service, a complete home buying network or selling network that includes the title and the lawyer and the stager and the photographer and the agent, where now you can share the cost of some of that marketing and some of those opportunities. And I think that's the point where you've got this network, and now you can look at ways to crank up how you're generating referrals. And now you can start thinking about, what do you do with a lead that you can't get a hold of? Well, maybe that's a lead that you can start offering some of the benefits from your referral network to, maybe they're interested in something else, which will re-engage them to talk about what you want to talk about. All right. So there's certainly ways to leverage the network, and as your network gets better, not necessarily bigger, but even bigger too, bigger and better, now there's a lot of opportunity in terms of how you can promote your network and in terms of how you can use that network together. And again, it's a team up approach that, again, a lot of these things, we can use technology to automate a lot of this stuff. And that's the real, again, once you get to technology now, if you can start linking people's networks together, now you can find people that are already committed to teaming up that may be in your marketplace, and maybe we can join our networks together and really expand things and with some automation.
Right. And I think that it's also, like, from a completely self-serving perspective, it really does present you as an expert, as an expert in the field, because you're connected to all these businesses that also are highly referable. I think of one of our clients, George Moorhead, and all of the video content that he's produced with his partners to talk about what they do, and he'll actually take that content, he'll package it up, and he'll share it with his entire list in the form of a newsletter or a special event that he's hosting. He's always looking for different ways and angles to pull those power partners into his own marketing, which gives them more exposure, but it also very effectively presents him as an expert in his markets.
Oh, he's the connected guy.
Yeah.
Right. And people like, if you're going to make a call, it's nice to talk to the connected guy, because he'll know somebody or know something, or he'll give me help with one call as opposed to searching for somebody that I don't trust or don't know.
That's right.
And that's, again, it really, you're right about establishing some authority in your marketplace. And it's, yeah, definitely, people like to work with people that are associated with other people that they like to work with.
Absolutely.
And,
Oh, yes. We know that.
yeah, it's a simple thing, but again,
Yeah.
this is stuff that we can. It doesn't take a lot of effort to get this going, and certainly doesn't cost a lot of money, which is great.
Yeah. But
And
you do need a system. You need to approach
absolutely,
it like a
you
system.
need to think about it systematically. You need to think about it step by step, but the steps are not difficult,
Mm,
right? And it is something that you can literally go, I can do step one, step two, and there's maybe an A, B, and C, but none of them are difficult.
right. So when it comes to different, I guess, strategies, once you've gotten to that point where you're ready to expand the network, right? You're ready to bring in maybe some businesses that you don't particularly know, but one of your partners is affiliated with or connected to. How do you see that happening? And how would you recommend people manage that? Like, are there different tiers to your referral network that you should be building out?
Well, I think there's always going to be if we really want to take this to the next level, it's like if we start looking at, we've talked about mortgage brokers and title and lawyers and financial advisors and butcher, baker, candlestick maker. If you start really looking hard at all the business categories out there in your local market, I think we did this a little while ago, and we very quickly came up with one slide that had 200 categories on it, and we could have easily extended it to several hundred more, and not just sort of making things up, but these were like real things, retail businesses, and there's an awful lot of them. So on one level, you're always going to have your key top level partners. At a second level, you're probably going to have your kind of guy in something where, again, it may not be the direct relationship. You may not be expecting to send them all the leads every month, or you may get one referral a year from them, right? There's certainly a level where that's there. And then I think the third level is you're going to have sort of an indirect relationship, or we can build an indirect relationship with people that are that second tier of partners from someone else that might be in my first tier of partners, right? And the idea of inheriting their network. So again, if I can get to 10 and my mortgage broker can get to 10 and my title company can get to 10, and we sort of share them, there'll be 3 in my primary network, maybe 10 in my secondary network, and maybe 30 in the third level of the network.
Right.
Right. And you're not expecting to get one a month from the 30, but one a year from the 30s, 30 more deals.
Right.
Right. And maybe there are people there that turn out to be really good, and maybe they sort of get promoted, at least in your head, to the second level or the first level. And often what you'll find is once you get into this idea of teaming up, you'll very quickly notice that in your client list, there are a lot of people that have their own business, right? Someone may be a hairdresser. Well, people talk about buying homes with their hairdresser, right? I'm looking for a house, right? That's, again, putting them in your network's great. They may go next door and get their skates sharpened or their something else done. And again, just having that connection. I've got a network. They may not know you as the realtor directly, but I know I've got this realtor. He does free home evaluations and he gives a discount on commission for anybody that I send to him. Great, right? Pass it along, and now you're going to get a call again from someone you know is interested. They're reaching out to you. It's a much better lead than anyone else. So now we can sort of extend, again, with some automation, we can extend this idea of let's team up to a much broader group. So now that you can actually approach your clients and say, I'm looking to add some partners in different business categories to my personal network for sharing leads and sharing referrals. And you'll very quickly find maybe in your client list, there's another 10
Right.
that have something that you could contribute to them, they could contribute to you. And again, the approach when they reach out to you is, yeah, I've got this network and we've done these 3 things to make it a real thing, and it makes it easy to share leads, and here's how you become referable, and here's how you get into the network. Right? Really easy and not a lot of stuff. It's a basically a cut and dry thing where it's easy for them to do, and they can see value in it right away. And right away they're thinking, this is great. I'm going to join this network that's got 30 different businesses in it. Right? Maybe that's 15 extra haircuts a month. Right? Or whatever it is. But the incentive for new people now to join is really good. And again, just going back to that, do you think that hairdresser now is going to look, when they're going to look to buy a house, which they eventually will, or sell their own house, who are they going to call?
That's right.
Right? And it's,
right.
Again, so even
they got a guy. They got a guy.
Right? They absolutely have a guy. But even if, again, reaching out, having a way to reach out to your clients and share your own network and offer them if they're interested or suitable, or if there's a way for them to join the network, fantastic. Right? And again, now you get to the point where these things kind of take on a life of their own, where basically you're building your own social network of all of these referable businesses, and you're the kingpin, right? You're the top guy. And now someone that by sort of putting a process in place to deal with these, we're not talking about adding, like, the goal here is not to add one, I'm sure everyone would love one good referral a month, but I'd like you to sort of think, how can we don't want one, we want 10 a month. Right? Which is going to dramatically change most businesses. And if you've got 10, well, let's turn the 10 into 30. Right? And that's, again, the nice part about this is you're not spending a ton of money on digital marketing. There's not a lot of risk to this. It's super easy there's not a lot of downside, and there's not a lot of effort. But you've got to approach it in a systematic way. And we're going to show you how to put together the tools to manage it, to make it easy. That's the last part of where this tends to fall down, is it's not, I can say you set up a network and have it automatically make all these things available. In theory, it's easy. Technically, there's some challenges to it, right?
Sure. We all have dormant contacts in our contact list. Right.
And one of the first steps is to try and get these key people into their own list of some description, right? Let's get it separated out from all the noise that's runs around in our CRM. And that's, and now we can actually set a goal. Okay, how can I want to add one a month. Let's find someone new to team up with every month and get them to start leveraging each other and start inheriting other people's networks and sharing either other people's contacts, to the point where everybody's got a guy, and if it's a realtor, it's you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of the thought. Like I don't want to. Again, I want people to get away from the idea of thinking, I'm going to get an extra referral here and there. We want to make this a sort of a key part of our business. And again, now if you're the guy and you've got the network, well, a good network's saleable in your business as well. Right?
Well, I think we all understand the concept of building assets, right? You want to diversify your stock portfolio, you buy more stocks. You want to increase your referrals, you increase your network, right? it makes complete sense. And you can see how when you start building this, the value will just naturally increase.
Right.
So, what role do you feel that organizations really should play? Like as an organization, because I know we've got some people on here that are, they're a team lead or they're part of an organization. What role should they play versus an individual professional in systematizing the network development or even relationship development?
Well, like if you're a team leader or you've got a business, say you've got 5 agents that are working for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in some cases, your key partners are probably going to work with all 5 of them. So maybe you've got one mortgage broker that you sort of work with all of them. But in some ways, again, you want them to start thinking about they're each creating their own network of partners. But we're focusing them on trying to find people in different categories. Right. So I'll find a partner that's in one category and you'll find a partner in another. And the 3 other agents are going to find one other category.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're each managing one relationship, but right away we can turn the networks together and now we're sharing 6. Right.
Right.
So, or 5 or 6 or however your math works out. And then if each of those can add one more a month, you go from 6 to 12 to 18 to 50. Right. And again, if you've got that sort of team infrastructure, it's easy you can make it, obviously you can help them all become more referable and making sure they're all got the cornerstone in place to how do we get a hold of you? How do we make those referrals? How do we make that easy?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a natural starting. Now you've got 5 people ready to share leads already. Now you may be kind of in the same category to start. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But again, if you're the individual business, it's obviously you're starting with whoever your key partners are. And again, it's maybe in the case with a team, you're working with one to start. And when you start seeing success with one, add 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
Right. So again, it's not something you have to sort of jump on. Like start with one, make it 3, right? Leverage the 3 into 6 or 9 and see where you can go to let it take off and become something that's an asset. And then the asset can be promoted.
Right. Well, many companies invest very heavily in CRM systems, but not necessarily tools for individuals to manage their own personal, professional network. Why do you think that gap exists?
Well, it's kind of dueling objectives, right? If it's a sales team, obviously the salespeople kind of like to have their own network,
Mm.
but who's ever at the top of that wants to sort of keep all the leads in house and right. So at some level, there's sort of this, I want to keep my own people close to the vest, but I also know I have to share and I'm leveraging off the market of the bigger business.
Mm.
So again, we want to kind of manage, and that's another reason why it's important to separate out your referral partners from your CRM and your database of leads. And obviously that the business is running the advertising and doing that and you're sharing leads, all those leads are going to be in the CRM of the business. And you really don't want your salespeople having all those leads. But at the same time, all of those people have their own personal networks of trusted people they trust that may have businesses, and letting them manage some of those relationships and then sharing those amongst the whole team. I think it's a good thing to let them manage them because they're going to do a way better job than trying to put them together. Right? Like I'm not going to do a good job managing your relationships. and nor are you going to do a good job managing mine. But if we both do a good job and agree to team up, now we probably have a good situation where you may have a butcher and a baker, and I've got a candlestick maker and a web designer.
Right.
Right. And we're both going to share with the one realtor who put us onto the whole thing.
Yeah. And you now have a system and a
Right.
framework in place.
Right.
For people to follow.
Right.
Now, as though, just getting back onto the topic of technology, how do you envision the evolution of professional relationship building over the next decade as the more digital natives start to assume those leadership positions?
Well, as I said, everything we've been talking about can be automated. And that's, you probably guessed by now, that's what we've been working on. And obviously the starting point of making sure you're referable. Well, one of the ways, if you start with, let's put together a system that allows you to manage your network. Okay, so the first person that's going into your network is yourself. Right. Mm-hmm. So I want to put myself into that network. I want to make sure I've got somewhere I can send people to find out about me and what I do. Conveys my best offer. What would I give people if I get a good referral call? Right. So put yourself into the system on your own. Okay. Then we can use that system to generate our let's team up requests. And what's going to happen? The let's team up request is going to say, okay, Christy, I'd like to team up with you. I've started using this app to track my referral network. I'd like you to join my network. And much like you join someone's following on Facebook or wherever you're going, I'd like you to join my network. And what are you going to do? You're going to download the app as well. You're going to go in and do the same thing I did. You're going to put your profile information in. You're going to decide, okay, what's your best offer? Okay, so how do you make yourself referable? Right? And the app would guide you through putting that in, make it super easy. And now right away, anybody that comes to my touch point or was referred by me, they'll see me first, but they'll also see you as a second tile in my network. Right? Kind of like people I know or people we may both know. But if they need me as the realtor or you as the mortgage broker, they would see both. Okay. Now we're both looking at that and we both say, okay, now let's both add one more partner. So the same process would go on. Let's team up with a local contractor. I'm going to let's team up. I've got one of my clients owns the local car dealership. Right. I'm going to contact him and same thing, right? They get sent the automated request. Here's what you got to do. You download the app. What's your best offer if I send you a referral? And you'll do the same thing. And now when people go, they're going to see me, they're going to see you, and they're going to see the two other people we've added. So now It's a network of 4, and it's probably going to have a link in there that's going to say, would you like to join our network? Do you have a great local business that would like to share referrals? Right? And you're going to start, as that network grows, you're going to start seeing more and more of that. Right? So now, but the nice thing is that as this grows out a little bit, now me promoting you, okay, I'm going to make a referral to Christy. I can do that right through the app. I put in the name of the person the referral's going to. They get sent a link. The link comes back and it shows my information with my great deal to buy a house. It's got your information. Here's Christy. She's got a great deal to make sure you get the best finance rate. And by the way, here's 10 other businesses that all have great offers for you. Here they are as well. Right? So now they're saying, well, this is great. Right? Probably, again, you're still going to have that link that says, do you have a great business? Would you like to team up with us? Right? So now they can, if they do, maybe they're the hairdresser. Right? They can add their self, and it's the same process. They download the app. They help make themselves referable by creating their profile. And now they've got a way to promote that.
Right.
So now all of those links go out, and we can then worry about, okay, when we make referrals, we want to kind of track them, right? We want to know that where are our leads coming from, how many leads are it generating, is this something that's going to be cost effective, right? If I find out I'm getting a lot of leads from the hairdresser, I'm probably going to call the hairdresser, A, say thanks, B, maybe I can say, okay, well, what can I do? I don't think your offer of, you don't have an offer, you're just a hairdresser. What can I do to send a new client? And maybe would you give a free haircut to someone that comes in the first time?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Whatever that is, how can you help them to be more referable? And again, the whole approach is that everybody's working together to make their businesses referable. And we all have this idea of a network we can share with all our clients. And that's kind of the process. But again, the other thing with it is it's nice because it lets us manage it. And because it's all driven through technology, it becomes very easy with the technology to take my network of 10 and your network of 10 and kind of cross-pollinate them. So we're always inheriting the networks of the people down the chain. Right? So now you're getting to the point where maybe there's 50 businesses, 100 businesses in there, where you might actually go in, I may refer you, and they'll see a list and they'd be able to do a quick search for hairdresser, right? Or a quick search for someone that can do their landscaping, or a quick search for whatever, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, mover, right? Karate studio, dance studio, gym.
Yeah. Can you share a personal experience, Steve, where
it's
you sort of witnessed how this approach to networking?
Yeah, like a lot of this is follow-up based, but I had and again, I had, during COVID, I had a skylight that got a leak. And at the time, home contractors were really hard to find. They were charging way too much money. And I had 4 businesses came to quote on fixing the skylight, and all 4 quotes were ridiculous. And it was going to take a year to get the hardware to fix it and all this stuff. So I literally went up with a caulking gun and a roll of Flex Seal tape and basically taped the leak shut. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of in a place in the house where the light, all you see is the light coming through. You never actually look up at the skylight. And even though it had this ugly hunk of tape on it, I didn't even think about it. And so fast forward to a few months ago, and I got a phone call from somebody that said they developed the business had been bought, and they were going through their customer list looking for partners and looking for people to tell them that we've made a big part of our business referrals. And this person called and basically said, I know we did a quote for you 4 years ago. Did you ever get the job done? And I said, well, no, it's still there. And I didn't kind of like the service. Oh yeah, the business.
What do you consider done? Does duct tape involve being?
Yeah, it's like
having the job done.
It doesn't leak. It's really ugly, but my wife's not complaining about it anymore because it's not dripping on the floor.
Right.
And they came back and quoted, and lo and behold, the price was like a quarter of what I was originally quoted. And I said, great. They came back. Now they talk about being referable. They had a whole process where they had someone quoted, and then the next person came out and they actually had someone come out and check that the quote was right and that all the right parts were there. And then they had a pre-installer came out to make sure everything they'd ordered all the right parts after they were ordered the thing. And then 2 guys came to do the actual installation, and they did a fantastic job. And while they were up on the roof, they found another problem with the roof, and they just fixed it. And they spent an extra half an hour doing that. And I went up and I said I wanted to tip the guy, and I tried to give him $100 for fixing the extra thing on the roof, which certainly would have caused a problem at some point. And they wouldn't take my money, but they said, our new owners are into being referable, and could you leave a Google review for the service we provided? And if you include our names in the Google review, our boss will give us each $100. So I said, great. I went and did the review, and John and Arnie got mentioned in the review. They were fantastic, and they fixed this extra problem. They didn't charge any extra money, and it was great.
Right.
But since then, so after the job, they had one of the pre-installation guys came out and checked it, made sure it was done right, made sure they left nothing lying around. And then I got a call a week later from someone that wanted to come out and talk to me about my experience. And they had a gift they wanted to give me, and the gift turned out to be a big box of Lindt chocolates, and taped to the front of it were business cards of 5 different businesses that are compatible. One was windows, and one was someone was doing driveway sealing, and so they were all giving away the same thing.
Right.
And with the Google review, you could see when you got into the Google reviews, they were sharing the Google reviews from, not only was it clients putting the Google reviews in, it was their partners that they were working with putting reviews in for each other. The window guy was recommending, in the Google review, was recommending the roof guy, and the roof guy was doing the skylights, and the driveway guy was in there too. And you could see all the same names in the reviews, but Google doesn't really know that. People looking at it don't really know that. But again, they've made themselves referable. They've all had good touch points. They all had a similar contact page, and they all had the same follow-up process that included asking referables for 5 businesses, not just one. And again, this was a business I'd totally given up on as useless.
Right.
And I've never been more impressed with the way they followed up. And I've still got the 5 business cards, and I know if I have a problem with one of those other things, I will contact them. Right. And I do, since then, about every 3 weeks, I get a message from them as a group saying, I'm Bob, I'm the partner that does windows with the skylight guys, and the roofer that helped out. And any of us would like to help you, and here's all our contact info. Let us know if we can help. Right. So here they've teamed up. They've, again, made themselves referable. They've teamed up. They've made themselves easy to contact. They've put a process in place for getting good reviews and asking for more referral business.
Yeah.
So now they're
great example.
The same thing. And now what we want to put on top of that is, how can we use technology to help that? How can we turn their 5 into their 10 or their 100?
Absolutely.
And now you've got a real asset that you can promote. Like if she'd have come with a box of chocolates and 10 cards, great. Right. And again, it was very cool that they had all these people doing the follow-up for different things, but they all were aware of the network. They all were aware of how to promote it. So installers did a great job by saying they were incentivized to promote the Google reviews, and they knew if they got a good review. So because they knew they were going to get a good review, it was worth them taking 10 extra minutes to fix the small hole in my roof and not charge anything or try to screw me over for that. And both of them got their $100 for a dinner on the weekend, I'm sure, because they got a good Google review.
So they provided that wow service, which makes them memorable and more referable. And demonstrated that they have a network of other businesses that they also feel comfortable referring.
Right. And
Yeah, quite powerful.
I don't, they were so good that I don't really have any expectation that the other 4 or 5 businesses will be as good. But if they're even close,
Right.
better than everybody else I don't really know or don't really trust, and there's certainly seems like there's a good chance they're going to be just as good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, this has been that's amazing. I want to be respectful of your time, Steve, because we are at the 4:35 mark here. So I know we'd scheduled an
well,
hour.
maybe what we can do
Mm-hmm.
is at some point in the next few weeks we can schedule another call and let's show people what the technology can do
Yeah,
and
I
give
think that would be
people a
awesome.
sense of how we put this into practice and give people more information of how to make themselves referable and how to team up. And then if they want to start looking at automating it with us, we can discuss that.
Yeah, let's get it on the schedule. I know that we probably had some questions today, but unfortunately we're not going to have a lot of time to get to those. But I do want to make everyone an offer, and that is we have a referral message vault. It's a swipe file that contains email messaging, text messages, different ways to reach out to businesses, but also past clients. So everyone who's on the webinar today is going to get that. I'm going to make sure that everybody gets a copy of that in their inbox. And stay tuned because we are going to have a lot more to show. And I know that Steve's been putting together some very cool technology to help everyone build their referral network into an extremely valuable asset. So thank you so much, Steve, for taking us through that today. I look
Awesome.
forward to our next session.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. I hope we delivered on what we said we'd deliver on and got people excited about referrals and turning that into a great source of revenue in all their businesses.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining. There will be a short survey once we close out the call today, so please give us some feedback, and we will see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.